Hi, it's Debbie Williams here, and today I'm going to talk about guilt and trying to get pregnant. I quite often have emails from people, and I get to work with clients who feel that their guilt is preventing them from conceiving. And this guilt can come in many forms. It could be that they've been in a relationship where they'd been made to feel less than, so that pretty much they've got no self-value whatsoever, and they just feel that they don't deserve to have a baby. Or it could be that they lost a baby once and they felt that, that again they didn't deserve to. Or even a termination, that at the time it seemed the right thing to do, but then afterwards there always seems to be regrets, because there's always the thought of, oh, around about this time it would have been sort of 8 years of age, or those kind of thoughts, and our mind can play tricks on ourselves to beat ourselves up really and make ourselves feel bad. We're in a point in history where, if you're watching this and you're in one of the the top 10% of richest human beings on this planet, where you've got food, water, shelter, and you've got all of those needs catered for, and you have space to think. And we have this brain, but we're not given an owner's manual, and it is geared towards the negative, and society kind of helps it along that way as well. If we watch the news, it's like they've zoomed in on every negative thing that's ever happened throughout the world and just prompted it in front of us for the the 30 minutes the news is on. So we continually get fed this diet of negativity and bad things, and so there's a lot of guilt can be attached to, if there has been a termination for whatever reason. As I said, it may well have been the right thing to do at that time, but then sometimes we play tricks with ourselves and think, well, I haven't caught straight away. Maybe it's because it's God's punishment or some other belief like that. And of course, when you think like that, you almost put a block on conceiving. I remember working with a lady once who was in an abusive relationship, and she'd managed to get out of it, and he had been pushing and pushing to have a second child, and she really didn't want to have a second child. And she'd come to see me, and she'd left him, and she'd had panic attacks, and we traced them that they were first thing in the morning and at about sort of 5 o'clock in the afternoon when he used to come home. And first thing in the morning he would get out of bed, and if she hadn't have got up early, he'd shout at her, open the curtains, bitch. And so she was living her life in anxiety, and she'd managed to get away from that, and I sorted out the panic attacks with her. But she also had this pain on the inside, and we did a bit of hypnosis and found on the inside, and she described something, and what she was describing was there's this big spring on the inside. She'd created for herself her own mental coil inside her body to prevent herself from getting pregnant, because she didn't want to have another child with this man. And see, our minds are so creative that we can use them for all sorts of things. Anything that's ever been invented was once a figment of somebody's imagination. Now, if you are feeling guilty, then this isn't a emotion that actually serves you. We need to process that guilt, and I have got a video on my YouTube channel about sort of how to say no without feeling guilty. I'm sure I've got another one. I've done so many I can't remember how many I've done. If I haven't, put a note and I will do one. But one way of processing this is to write out on a piece of paper exactly how you're feeling, and then sort of just leave it there for a day or two, and then come back to it and read it as if a dear friend has sent it to you. And just imagine it's one of your dear friends, and give yourself the advice that you give to that friend if you'd receive that letter of saying to them, well, you did what you needed to do at that time, and these beliefs that you don't deserve to have a baby, you've ruined it, you've made yourself infertile. They're just beliefs, and they're sort of geared up in our society, because if we look at sort of other cultures around the world, women are not deemed as equal. Some are viewed as lower than animals, and even animals in that society is not viewed as particularly a good way. And in our society, whereas there is equality, there still isn't. You know, a man can sleep around and be a stud. A woman does it. She's a slut, a whore, a dirty so-and-so. So there's all this inequality going on that can ride away at our self-respect, our self-esteem. And also, you know, the fashion industry, it's all pretty much a lot of gay men dressing sort of very masculine looking skinny girls as clothes horses, and we're constantly being bombarded by the media that if we don't fit to that ideal, then we're not perfect, because if they make us feel not perfect, then we're needy, and so we buy their product to make ourselves feel better. So there's a lot of cultural hypnosis and influence going on around us to make us feel less than. And so to overcome that, we need to take control of our own mind and realize that, you know, this brain is having a thought. This brain is having a thought, and if we buy into it, then we can pull ourselves into a hole and make ourselves feel a darn sight worse. Or we can get those thoughts on paper, like I said, the way of doing it earlier. Or I'll put a link to my website. There's a page on there called Negative Thoughts, and there's a couple of exercises there and videos that can help you process negative thoughts. If you have had a termination, or if you have, you know, lost a baby sort of early on and you felt like it was your fault. You know, I've had ladies come to me that say, well, I didn't know I was pregnant and I was drinking, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'd spontaneously aborted this baby, and if I'd have known, I wouldn't have drunk, and I killed the baby, and all of this guilt sort of that they've carried, that, you know, if we can lift the weight of the world off that shoulders, and so it can free you to look at things and be open to conceive. The way to do that as well is to program our mind in a positive way. There's a few of my videos on fertility. There's fertility trances there. There's also one of my downloads that's for sale, Ultimate Confidence. The trance on that is planting the seeds of miracles happening, being the right place, the right time, right synchronicities occurring. I am going to be doing some more stuff around fertility that would be useful, so, you know, subscribe to my channel and feel free to suggest things that can help and support you. Another paid for product is Heal the Inner Child, or Heal the Heavy Heart. There is a video on here, Overcome the Loss of a Baby, and even if you sort of went through a termination, I think you get something from that, because it gives you an opportunity to almost say sorry to that that dot that was there, and to make peace with it. And this is what I do sometimes in a one-to-one session, is I'll put somebody into a trance and I'll, you know, get them to connect and say what they needed to say, so that they can hear what they need to hear to move on. Again, my Overcoming Grief paid for product will do that, but please go through all of the freebie stuff, because it may well be enough, and especially the processing the negative thoughts, because if you get it out of your head and you can look at it in black and white, you can see it more logically, and you can help process the emotional mind's way of thinking it to calm that down. And again, sort of listening to my fertility trance or my special delivery one, in that's usually for people who are pregnant, but I often give it to my clients who want to get pregnant and tell them to listen to it, because whilst they're listening to it, you're kind of imagining you are pregnant, and what it does then, it either sort of helps you to become pregnant, or it brings up the barriers that are stopping you becoming pregnant, and you get to know what they are, and once they're at the surface, you can again process them through these negative thoughts exercises that are on the links below. Okay, it's great talking to you today. Bye now, and if you do want to come to Birmingham to see me, I can definitely help you. I've done a lot of work with helping women with fertility over the years, whether it's through naturally getting pregnant, or through helping them through IVF. I've made the journey for them a lot easier, and usually a lot quicker, because we can use the power of our mind to make that happen. And more now science is backing things up. I saw a video the other day on placebos. I put a video myself up on placebos, and I watched this one, and they measured a lady who was in a test, and she took a dummy pill. She didn't know it was a dummy pill, to overcome a depression, and they were able to manage her brain to see what was going on the inside, to scan it, sorry, and they could see that activity was happening in the front part of the brain that regulates mood and was releasing endorphins, which is the body's own, like, morphine, endogenous endorphins, endogenous morphine, like heroin or opium. So, you know, we have inside us an unknown chemist who knows how to mix things together to work perfectly for you. And all my trances, I plant solutions and looking forward and helping you release barriers to whatever issues that you've got. And so on that note, I'm going to finish now, and great talking to you. Bye now.